Hey, I'm Bang Bang. I'm a tattoo artist in New York City, and today we're going to look at how tattoos can identify characters in film.
Okay, Ramblers, let's get rambling.
This is From Dusk Till Dawn. Fuck yeah. I think this movie, this tattoo, really created a whole era of tattooing. This tattoo has a lot of significance, and you see movies come after this where people have really large tribal tattoos, and you see a bunch of people who were tattooed in the 90s that look like this guy, you know, creeps up the neck. This was the image everybody brought me when I first started tattooing. I could glance at these guys walking down the street and tell you got tattooed between 1993 and 1996, or you were late to the party. And it's perfect for this character. It's perfect for this time period. It's perfect for this story. It's perfect for him. It's unique. It doesn't remind you of anyone else's tattoos. This one's pretty accurate. Even the motion and flow and shapes, they're kind of not cohesive. This is not a symmetrical tribal tattoo. This looks like how tattoo artists made tribal in the 90s. You know, at the time of this scene, of this setting, of this character, tattoos are still pretty taboo, more than they are today. I think it looks very real to me because I know if tattoos are done very perfectly, they can look very sharp and very dark, especially contrasted next to skin. But this time for this character, I would expect to see more holidays in the tattoo. And a holiday is what we call like a spot missing or an inconsistent spot. And we call it a holiday because it's like a tattoo artist took a day off right there. So actually filling in a really large area, solid black and consistent, is really difficult. Some of what may make it look fake is that it looks too well done for this gangster on the run. There's some things about this that are really good for the character. Don't go get this tattoo.
A boat! The gods have given me a boat!
So this is Moana, Maui, which is my favorite representation of tattoos in film. The tattoos themselves were a character in the film. His tattoos are his conscience. They're his better half. And they spoke to him and encouraged him to do the right thing. So often in film and even in life, tattoos are painted in a negative light. For Disney to include tattooing on a character, first of all, and then to do so where it was the voice of reason, I get chills thinking about it. I love Moana. They're also made very well. So if you look really close at that film, the tattoos have the inconsistencies that would be typical of that style of tattooing. I'm certain that Disney consulted many tattoo artists and experts of tattooing in that style. Traditional Polynesian, and it's hand poke. They do it days on end. It's like a rite of passage, a ritual for young men. Disney puts tons of research into doing things correctly. You can tell.
So Mickey, you're going down in the fourth.
This is Snatch, and I love this movie. I want to be him when I grow up. Oh my God, what the is on his chest? None of these are real, right? That face on his chest is woefully difficult for me to stare at. But I feel like the film succeeds, and this is the quality and work you'd expect on some Irish street fighter, right? Who's trying to get his mother a caravan. I can't tell what all of them are. I don't know if that's good or bad. So I can tell what the Mary is on his chest. One thing to consider is placement on the body has to fit the image. His chest has a lot of shape to it and a lot of definition. It changing shape in the middle of a face is, it doesn't help the image at all. The tattoos on his shoulders actually look like they're made by the same person in the same moment, which is appropriate for that design. And his chest looks like it's just an outline by somebody who didn't quite know what they were doing and whose skill level was lower than the tattoos on his shoulders. You have a bunch of different styles of tattoos if you're tattooed throughout your life. I just think that, you know, they wanted them to not look like the best tattoos in the world. Again, it's for film, so it's purposeful. Successful tattoos are supposed to, like, you know, externally present the way somebody feels internally, right? So there should be a visual representation of that person. Irish street fighter, like, this looks appropriate. They get an A+ on fitting form to the character. This is the Hangover Part II. It looks real, because it looks like it f***ing hurts. Yeah, poor bastard.
This is a real tattoo!
The Hangover Part II is famous in itself for its lawsuit for this tattoo. They did not acquire the rights to use this tattoo in this film from the tattoo artist. Technically, if I designed this tattoo for Mike Tyson and I tattooed it on him, Mike Tyson did not buy this design from me. He bought the tattoo. I still own the design. For them to use that design in film without the tattoo artist's permission, it wound up costing them a lot of money. Let me say though, they did a perfect job of making it look swollen and painful and what your face with tattoo would look like if you passed out in the bathtub drunk. If we're speaking specifically about Mike Tyson's tattoo, I love it. It's a warrior mark. On homie over here though, is a bad decision. So it's perfect. They just should have, gotten the rights to do it, I think. This is The Place Beyond the Pines with Ryan Gosling. Yeah, it takes somebody who really either knows themselves or doesn't give a to get a face tattoo. Any cheek tattoo is a bold tattoo. First thing that I notice is some of the blacks. They're not the equivalent of what pigment looks under skin. Our tattoo pigments sit under your skin's pigments. Black is as black as it can be. Once it's under your pigment, it's washed out and it's lightened. At first glance, some of them looked too dark to be real. So that's one thing that I catch right away. It looks like he has a bunch of Americana traditional style tattoos. I think it's great when they're designing tattoos for these movie characters, that it stays in theme. It wouldn't make a ton of sense for him to have something super highly rendered and something super simple really next to each other. It seems like this person has a style they like, they know, they identify with, and they've stuck with. So he has a stiff looking boxer that's traditional, what you think of like Sailor Jerry tattoos. That's the vibe of this style, is 1920s on the Bowery, sailors coming off and getting tattoos. And so there's still a big aesthetic and market for that now. One thing I think could be improved on design stuff on this tattoo is his back tattoo. It's not super clear that it's a ship to me. I see the little cloud poof. It's cute. I get the horizon line. When I look at a tattoo, I want to know what it is in a snap. If my brain has to spend some time trying to figure out that image, I feel like that's time wasted on your first impression. These tattoos don't particularly complement his body. I feel like maybe the bird on his chest is, the closest one. There's not a clear thought path from one tattoo to another. It's like, what fills this spot? I'll approach that later. On his hand, I'm pretty sure that it's Frankenstein. I think that does not speak to the time period they're saying he got tattooed. Micro-realism wasn't really a thing people were getting tattooed in the 90s, so I think that tattoo would have been a lot bigger. I think sometimes film studios don't consult tattoo artists. A lot of this stuff's done by makeup artists. They might miss some minor details, like the fact that early mid-90s they just weren't doing tattoos this small with high detail. So I think they got that correct on his neck. Doing it really big and open, that was a pretty common thing in the 90s. Spiderweb on an elbow is like a symbol of I went to jail in 1993. This is the girl with the dragon tattoo. I'm a little embarrassed to say I didn't see this movie. I think I'm the only person on earth that didn't see that movie. But speaking to the work, I like that it's form fit, so it fits her body really well. They nailed the S-curve. In design, when you're learning about flow and motion, 101 is the S-curve, right? And everything kind of moving in that direction creates flow in something that's still. Your tattoo is still when it's on your body until your body starts to move. We have many of these curves and angles on our body. Your collar is the same angle as your rib cage, is the same angle as your hips, is the same angle as the muscle structures on your arm, and so they all kind of lead into the center of you. The spot that it's in is unique, and I like that it hit certain curves and angles of her back. It's very clear this dragon's somebody studied that day of art class. So I like when tattoos move body parts and bring your eye around a person, so they make you interested in their form and how that form of the design fits the body. Curves are feminine, and that's how we identify them. It's a medieval dragon. The motion and flow of it's not stiff, still stagnant and muscular and presented. It in motion feels more feminine, but I wouldn't inherently call it a feminine tattoo. There's a lot going on that I can't completely read the anatomy of everything in the image. It's got these little T-Rex claws. There's some interesting anatomy choices to the design. It looks realistic. It doesn't look like a really good tattoo. Most tattoos aren't really good, so. This is Memento. First thing I notice is many of them are upside down, so they're clearly a message to himself. The presentation of tattoos is for the viewer, the audience, the people who are looking at you. If you had a t-shirt on and it was all written upside down so you could read it, people would think your shirt's upside down. I haven't seen that in film hardly ever, so it's really unique to this. The top of his thigh doesn't look very real. Some of the smaller things don't look like real tattoos because of how dark they are, how dense they are. And tattoos settle in skin. It's kind of like a Sharpie on a paper towel, except it takes 10 years. Really, only when they're very first made are they quite that sharp. And even still, there aren't many artists that can be digitally sharp. These look, in some cases, digitally sharp.
Oh my dear God, Jesus.
This is Red Dragon. What I love about this tattoo is you know this guy's evil throughout the film. You just know it's almost a reveal of his spirit in this tattoo. It's done pretty well. That close-up, you could see that they put a lot of effort into making it really good. Certainly they could have added more contrast and midtones to make that shading look accurate and realistic. He is the demon as he's decorated on his body. Again, I don't always love that tattoos can kind of make the bad guy, but seemingly he's a quiet, misunderstood person, at least at a glance throughout this film. And so what are his tells? It's his reveal of him, his true self. Take this exact same scene without a tattoo, and this is just a naked guy posing in front. Like, the tattoo does so much in this scene to say just how pure and raw evil this man is. Oh yeah, this is Blade. Blade's a badass. I like Blade's tattoo. It's like the only tribal tattoo I'm okay with. I can't remember many characters before that, or even famous people, celebrities, anything that had head tattoos. So this is my first memory of someone with a well-executed head tattoo that wasn't like a wrestler. It spoke to the character. I mean, even his hairstyle was like, this guy's a vampire slayer. I mean, this is the tribal wave. This is symmetrical tribal. I prefer this symmetrical tribal over the kind of like organic tribal that we saw on Clooney's arm in Dusk Till Dawn. It's complementing all these shapes. It feels like armor. It fits his muscle structure, it fits his anatomy, it fits his shape, it fits his symmetry. I think I would have made it a little less busy in his neck. Neck, like your face, gets a lot of sun, so your neck is darker. More dense tattooing in smaller shapes leaves less room for the eye to breathe, and in time, that'll just be really hard to separate ink from skin, and you won't see all those shapes as he ages. The front of him looks much better. There's so much more room to breathe. If it were my input, I would have angled it more down into his chest. Just a couple more hard angles that face more towards middle. You want to lead the eye towards the center. Swirls aren't aggressive, like angles are aggressive. It's a little bit lost in that it has angles and swirls. It's like, pick one, bro. I'm not gonna talk shit on Blade.
Neat kick, eh?
This is Once We're Warriors. I mean, I can tell right away that these are fake because of the consistency of pigment around the fingers and knuckles. As I'm looking at the guys in the car, it doesn't look as realistic to me just because the consistency of the pigment on his knuckles and hands. Anytime someone gets their hands tattooed, as it gets closer to those knuckles, you can see that pigment starts to fade. I like what they're doing to set the scene of this person becoming, right? So here's this guy in the middle of these heavily tattooed people who are bigger than him, who have more presence than him, or are more intimidating than him. They're visually representing this character's stage in this movie really well with his lack of tattoos. When you get tattooed, the sun is breaking down your pigment your entire life, especially on your face. Specifically speaking, the guy on the right, his face tattoos are the darkest portion of any of his tattoos. So a little bit of a miss there. These tattoos, you know, being tapped into somebody's face, the level of precision is much lower than electric tattoo machines or modern tattoo machines. His face tattoos look real to me because it looks like they're purposely done with inconsistency. Up on his forehead, you can see inconsistencies in line weight, thickness, even spacing. There's some errors in there that I would expect to see on a tattoo of this scale made by hand. There's also inconsistencies around his nose. You can see the way that it's done looks like it has those errors, right? It's not fully filled in. There's some ink fallout. That's really typical of the space, where the guys in the car, those things just look a bit too dark to be on someone's face. Then there's chain link guy. You can also see that where his arm is rubbing against his outfit, his clothes, the pigment's rubbing off. Must have taken hours to put this on, and it comes off real quick.
Miss Pascal, can I just ask you a question about this receipt?
This is Stranger Than Fiction. It's wind bars and clouds, and wind bars are a Japanese technique of background that fills space well, and you can move it in any direction you want to. It looks to me like an American's take on a Japanese style tattooing. Cherry blossoms, really stagnant flowers, kind of placed all over the place with petals all over the place. Wind bars and clouds really fill space, and you can move them in any direction to complement the tattoo. This is a whole half sleeve of just background. So we use flowers and we can use wind bars, but like, what's the subject matter? There is no singular subject matter. So when you study Renaissance painting, they talk about the Trinity, right? Bringing everything towards the center. Each one of these flowers is the same. It's a straight on shot of a cherry blossom. None of them are missing leaves, yet there's petals everywhere. There's no different angles of them. Cherry blossoms are a hard thing to do, to draw and make beautiful and make flow. And I like cherry blossoms and I like wind bars. I just typically like them to support an image. I thought this would have been made after 2003, 4, 5, something like that. What year was it?
2006.
2006, yeah, it's a shocker. At that time period, like, that was tattoo artists' skill level and that was clients' interest level. And so, like, I think for film, this is successful. If somebody showed me this picture and said, do you think this is a real tattoo or a fake tattoo? I'd say it's absolutely real.
I overslept. Oops. Well, hey, at least you had a good time, right?
This is Black Swan, and I like her tattoo. It's 2 flowers, actually, out of 1 stem. Doesn't make a lot of anatomical sense, but, like, it's dope. It's hard to see here, but each one of those leaves has its own shape and depth. Although the shapes are symmetrical, it's not perfectly symmetrical. So each leaf on either side is a little bit unique to itself. So it's not like somebody drew half of it and folded it in half and then here's your symmetrical upper back tramp stamp, right? I like the contrast of the flower portion to the leaves. A lot of times that's something people miss, and tattoos become very flat. Everything's done in the same tone. This flower is kept really light and all the leaves are kept really dark. So it's really easy to discern what it is. I think there's a really good chance they spoke to a tattoo artist about it, and a good one, because of what I can see in the contrast. This technique, something that takes tattoo artists many years to understand. How to isolate something really light, like a white flower, how to put noise around it essentially so that that stands out, how to make sure all of that background, in this case the leaves, have sharp contrast from the flower so that you can read it. You'd always catch that contrast. I like the position of it. As she moves her body, that image is gonna move and it's gonna say flow and motion more than if she didn't have a tattoo. This is a tattoo that would age well because of the contrast between flower and leaves. Probably makeup artists traditionally wouldn't have that much education on tattoos to be able to just whip that up. And if they do, I want to talk to that person. They got a career in tattooing ahead of them. Yeah, this is Savage's, and this is the tattoo you don't want. I mean, it makes sense. I feel like I've seen this tattoo 100 times on like the Jersey Shore. Butterflies are great. I really like butterflies. Ultimately, it's a bunch of bugs, which I think is funny. As far as design, and it looks like it matches this character. If I saw this person at a still and I looked at the tattoo they'd have, I go, yeah, that's about what I expect. So I feel like they nailed it there. It's pretty common for tattoo artists that are using flash reference, and that's the kind of pictures that are hanging on a tattoo shop wall, to say like, oh, I want to get a bunch of butterflies. Well, great. So the tattoo artist is going to go over and rip down all the butterflies off the wall and trace each one of them to just make them fit together. And that's exactly what this looks like. It's weird overlaps so that it feels like one tattoo where they kind of barely intersect with the other and they all kind of do it, as opposed to there were a bunch of butterflies on a bush and you went whoosh and got them to all move away. There'd be a lot more flow and beauty and cohesion. This isn't something I would make on somebody, but something I'd expect to see from somebody who doesn't have a lot of tattoo education.
You don't fit into a category. They can't control you. I don't get it.
This movie's Divergent. When I first saw it, I couldn't tell what it was immediately, and I thought it was too dark to be a real tattoo. I still can't tell what it is. I'm sure it was purposeful. Top bird and bottom bird are the same bird, 2 different sizes. That is a typical lazy tattoo artist thing to do. Flock of birds, and you'll see many of the same one, just at different sizes. Maybe they got that part right. You know, just on their own, they don't say birds to me. These look like I'm gonna wipe it off.
Love.
This is the Night of the Hunter. I'm all about it. This tattoo gets the green light from me. Nobody had tattoos in 1955, especially not on their hands. The tools and precision of the 50s are not the same tools and precision of today. The fact that you can read it is what's impressive. It looks like it was done without a stencil. Somebody grabbed his hand and Love and just started to write. From the cinematic perspective of where his hands are placed, quite literally putting love, really easy for her to read. And then look at his other hand. It's set back. It's off angle so she's not. So visually, this is doing a lot for this scene, this setting. I think people don't realize just how much tattoos come into culture and kind of like squash the taboo a little bit and normalize it to people via film. And so even though he's a villain, it's normalizing a taboo art form.
Why would you want to kill anybody?
I'll show you why.
Oh my God.
So this is the Illustrated Man. If you showed them to me, I would guess they were real. So they did a good job, and how muted those colors are speaks to really the raw form of pigments that tattoo artists used to use in the kind of the era that it was made. This is really what you could expect out of getting a color tattoo. Very dull, muted tones. Tattooed boldly and solidly. For 1969, it's cool. I mean, the title, it's all about his tattoos. Not incredibly impressive tattoos. The bar had been set at really well-made sailor style tattoos, traditional tattooing by that time. It's tough for me to kind of put a finger on a genre of this. This kind of looks like a, you know, an old couch. Those designs are a little ornamental. Weird, man. Weird tattoos. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, be quiet. I mean, what did they do with his tag? Oh, let me
This is That's My Boy. What the f***? Oh no.
Yeah, it's because I got it when I was in 3rd grade. My body grew.
This is not what would happen if you got a tattoo when you're young and it grew as you did. But it's hilarious. Tattoos grow with you. If you got a tattoo at the center of your bicep and you gained a bunch of weight, your tattoo's not going to grow as much as it's going to migrate forward because your skin stretches from the back of your arm. That's where you get stretch marks, right? So it's going to migrate forward and it'll no longer be in the center. It's very much like if you took newspaper and silly putty and then you know, double it in size, but not just upwards. Or it's kind of the whole thing would grow a bit and probably would migrate further up on your back because a lot of growth happens from skin stretching at the bottom of your back. And then it's a high motion area. Just over time, those pigments would change a lot. It wouldn't be this dark or sharp at all, but hilarious.
The butterfly. You're Papillon, aren't you?
Yeah.
This is Papillon. Makeup definitely did a good job. This looks like a professional tattoo that's about 18 years old. I'm sure it's not. I hope it's not for his sake. This would be very impressive for 1973, I feel like. Colors were really limited. I have not seen a tattoo from the 70s with a vibrant purple color. It's tough to do through hair. He's got a hairy chest. Purple butterfly on his chest. All right.
Permission to come aboard.
So this is Aquaman. There's a couple things, like when you take angles that don't fit the body, like these angles that move across his chest, there's really straight lines. It kills some of his shape of his arms, of his muscle structure, of his chest here. But then they accent it by really reinforcing the shape of his chest here. So, you know, it's like two things fighting each other a little bit there. The abrupt end and the abrupt start, there are things that if they were a real tattoo that we would look at and say that was unsuccessful. Tattooing darkness under a man's chest makes his chest look more like breasts. So it adds a shadow under chest. So typically we don't accent that portion of men. This is not going to spark a tattoo trend. Maybe nor should it. I'm not a huge fan of companies that go off just mimicking what tattoo artists are experts in. I would prefer that tattoo artists did this, personally. If you went through that much trouble to get to the precision of flattening out a 3D figure of his body, that the precision of the work could have been better. Movie made money, right? I think film has done a great job in normalizing tattoos for people. They're making these tattoos to identify this character and their past and their experience and their style. All those things wrapped together are what we judge when we see people with tattoos in regular life. I hope you learned something. I hope you've taken something away from this, and I hope you're as passionate about tattoos as I am. I would have asked him to consult his therapist. This fucking guy is clearly crazy. Find him, kill him across his chest. Like, if you come to my store and ask me to tattoo that on you, I'm turning you in.